I can talk in my grown-up voice if you'd like.
Maybe.
Is it okay? Yeah. So
there you go.
Okay, yeah. So this is my grown-up voice when I have Zoom meetings with my doctor to talk about my hernia. This is the voice that I use.
Your hernia has come up more than ghosts.
Yeah. If you ever have one of those, you get to do that once a year, and you get to look forward to it for months on end.
Because what do they schedule it a year out so for the full year?
It's my annual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every year. Around my birthday.
Okay. Special treat just for you.
Mm-hmm. Amy's always like, "What do you want for your birthday this year?" And I'm like, "I am set."
Patrick, we're back
from
another episode. So I have to ask first, how are you feeling about ghosts these days?
I'm on the fence, let's say.
Okay. That's better than being on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, I mean, I was really far away from the fence before.
Now you're on the fence.
Yeah. Like, if it was a pasture, I was like at the other fence.
Okay.
Which is like...
So you've come a long way.
I really have.
It's only been 5 episodes so far.
Well, we'll see where this goes.
Okay. It's true. That's true. This one I'm really excited about today. I think, to be in all honesty, if I were a non-believer, or if I were a skeptic, let's say, if I were agnostic about ghosts, I think that the ghost we're going to talk about today would be the one that sets me over the edge to be like, okay, I think I understand this, because this ghost acts just like I would act if I were a ghost, which I love. I love it for me. And I love it for the journey that we're about to take here together.
I'm excited.
Okay, so the year is 1817.
These ghosts are all really old.
They are.
I mean...
Yeah, I mean, they don't, ghosts don't like technology, famously, so like the more technology we get, the more they're like, I'm good.
Yeah, isn't that like a little coincidental? I mean, the more technology, the more, information and recording and whatnot.
It's causation, not correlation.
Okay.
But is that right? But in a different way than you're saying.
I refute your point with my own point. It's strange to me that like we don't have, this is a ghost from, 2017. It's very...
You want me to find you a ghost from 2017? I'll find you a ghost from 2017.
Maybe next week.
Okay. Good, because I took notes on this one for this week, and it took a lot of work.
We're kind of locked on this one right now.
Okay, so 1817, which is, I think, even earlier than... I think this is the earliest one we talked about so far.
Sure.
This is like a classic American ghost.
Okay.
And I don't want to get you too excited. It is also... Okay. It's harsh, but fair. It is one of the most popular ghosts in American history. One of the most famous, I should say.
Okay. I was trying to figure out how...
The ghost is not popular. Like, people don't love the ghost. Yeah. But the ghost, the story of this ghost is one of the more famous of American history.
Mm-hmm. Have they made a movie about it?
They've made several.
Really?
They have.
Okay, this is not Casper.
No, it's not Casper. Okay, so 1817, there's a town in Tennessee at that time called Red River. It no longer exists. Now I think it's called Adams, Tennessee. Doesn't matter. Not important. No one knows where that is. Red River, Tennessee, 1817. There's a man who lives there with his family. His name is... Can you guess his first name? It's one of the two.
Is it William?
No, it's not. It's John.
Oh, John.
It's obviously John.
So
his name's John Bell.
Okay.
John Bell is walking his property. He has a substantial property. It's a pretty big space. Lots of acreage.
Everybody back there then. Like,
I know,
they all had tons of property.
There were 15 people in America at that time. John Bell was one of them.
They were splitting up,
the whole country.
Yeah.
He had a lot of property. He was walking around one day and he sees a strange thing. It looks sort of like a dog, but it's not a dog. It's bigger than a dog. It's like super black. It's like, what's that? Like really Veta black?
Is it the one where like they paint the inside of the room and then you can't even see yourself when you go inside?
Yeah. It like absorbs all the light.
Something with a V.
Not Veta. It's Ven.
Veta?
Is it Veta black?
Cutting all of this out.
Venta black? Venta. Is it Venta?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Venta black.
So we're both right.
Yeah. So it's this like Venta black dog. Super, but like big and like spikes on the back and stuff, and like glowing eyes.
Like
and
spikes?
Things. Yeah.
Oh,
well,
wow.
like they get their hackles up, not like actual spikes.
Okay.
Like a
Not like an armored dog.
No, it's not that.
Right.
It's not like the Heralds of Gozer or the Gozerian. It's like an actual creature with fur spikes that looks very scary. So he does what any red-blooded American would do. He shoots at it.
Clearly.
Yeah. Misses because, it happens. The creature runs away.
Okay.
Okay.
It sounds like a wild. Aren't wild boars down there? This sounds like a wild boar.
Do you know what a boar looks like?
It looks like a big dog with its hackles up. Is what it looks like to me.
I don't know if that's true. How many dogs have you seen in your life?
How many drunk men in Tennessee were there in 1817?
Okay, that is a fair point. So, but it was just this big doggish thing, like very scary.
Sure.
Shoots at it, it runs away.
Right.
And this is the beginning of the haunting of the John Bell family.
Wow.
Okay. That was the first appearance of the creature.
So if he hadn't shot at it, does any of this go on? If he just
it's hard to say. There are a lot of theories. That's a good question,
Okay.
actually, and there are a lot of theories about what the this entity might be.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them point to the idea that no, it would not make a difference, and probably had he shot it, it wouldn't have made a difference. It wouldn't have impacted that
some
creature.
sort of apparition.
Yeah.
Like you don't fight apparitions with like rifles.
With man bullets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You
Man bullets?
fight them with prayer, as we all know. So that happens, and this is the first iteration of this thing that begins to torment the Bell family.
Okay.
Not long after that, John Bell's son, Drew, young lad at the time.
Drew.
Yeah,
pretty
some of
modern
these
name.
names are
Yeah.
really strange. Like we'll hear more later too. That like some of them feel very much for the time. Some of them are like, I had a roommate in college with that name.
Yeah. Aiden. Like that's not a name back then. Yeah.
Blaze. What? So a few days later, Drew looks up. He's walking around. He's like hanging out in his yard, and on the fence there's this massive bird. I mean, it looks like a bird.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is right about it in terms of what birds look like, but it's like 5 times the size of a big bird. It's huge. It's like a size of a person.
So like the wild boar theory is kind of out the window at this point. It's on the
because
fence.
now it's a bird.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It, like you, is on the fence.
Anyway.
Thank you. So this bird is perched on the fence and it's huge. And he approaches it, which is a bad move. I would not. I would run away very quickly. Birds are
this like eagle-sized, evil-looking bird.
No. Like take an eagle, scale it up 5 times.
Oh, really?
It's a person-sized bird.
Okay.
It's a huge bird.
It's a big bird.
It is a big bird, but I'm not terribly comfortable using that terminology because I don't want you to think it's like a sweet big bird.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as much as I'd like to criticize Drew Bell for approaching this like terrifying, bird of prey, I can't imagine there's a whole lot else for him to be doing at that point.
He could be going away from it.
Right, but like, how exciting is that? Like, what's he going to go away from it?
Well, that's
to
true,
do?
and certainly for our purposes,
Yeah.
that's the best thing for him to do. But birds are what dinosaurs became, and so this thing is probably terrifying.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's like, I'm going to go check that out. It vanishes, doesn't fly away, disappears,
just separates. Just poof.
And he says, "That's pretty weird."
Doesn't happen every day.
Goes about his day though. That's probably uneducated.
I still got cows to milk and
got a lot of work to do. Can't think about the big bird. Then John Bell's daughter, whose name is Betsy, which feels more like the time, I think.
Yeah, that's I can see
classic 1800s.
Yeah, that's like Little House on the Prairie. Okay.
Yeah. She was walking around their yard, and so if people should have stopped walking around their property, I think.
Yeah, that's where all this starts.
And she sees a girl in a green dress.
Is she enormous?
No, it wasn't clear.
It was a girl. It was a 5 times bigger than a girl.
It was a Clifford the Big Red Dog version of a girl. She's a girl in this green dress swinging from the limb of an oak tree, which is not like, I guess, too weird, except that it was on like the middle of their property. And Betsy thought that's weird.
Was there already a swing there, or is the swing?
It was. So this is a good point. Like, I don't know what this means exactly. Based on what I've read, I think it means she was like hanging with her hands on a limb, just like swinging.
Why is that so much scarier?
It is, right?
That's like so much scarier.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So Betsy was put off by that. And she went back and told her dad. And then Drew was like, oh, and I saw this gigantic bird that just vanished.
Yeah.
And then John was like, well, that's problematic because I recently saw this giant hellhound that I shot at and it ran away. So there's something strange happening, right?
Clearly,
it's not like a ghost situation at this point, but like,
this is
it's weird. It's a good prologue.
Yeah. This is when you get on Zillow and you're like, what else is around here?
Yeah.
You know, I think, what's the Z estimate for my house right now?
Yeah. Because it's a great market.
It's time to go. It's time to go.
Yeah. They do not, they stay. And soon the haunting really starts. Okay. So this was all preamble. The haunting soon moves to the Bell house itself. And their house is not like a big house based on the drawings that I've seen of it. It's kind of a log cabin, you know, it's very like ranch style. So it's not huge. And so there's not a lot of space for the haunting exam. So if like haunting happens in a small house, everyone's going to know about it. You know what I'm saying? It's not like one of these mansions where like, it's in the other wing. I never heard it.
Yeah. You're going to be basically like a single wide, like somebody farts in one end of it. You're going to.
Yeah. And sometimes what farts is a ghost. So the haunting starts, there's like, it's like classic ghost stuff.
Rattling on the windows.
Rattling on the windows, knocking on walls. There were sounds like creatures gnawing on beds, sounds of dogs snarling, sounds of chains like dropping and scraping across the floor. Like a whole a panoply. Is that a good word?
It is a good word.
For this situation? Yeah. A whole mess of sounds.
Yeah. It's a cornucopia of horror. I think I've seen that somewhere. And it sounds like this is far back enough. This sounds like it could be like the root of a lot of these like modern horror tropes, you know, like the chains dragging and things like that and whatnot. I mean, this is far back enough that it precedes all that.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. I mean, it's really long time ago.
Yeah, sure.
So that starts happening and that's not comfortable for them. They don't love that.
I would dislike it. I wouldn't like any part of it.
Yeah. They have a lot of family meetings about it. They're like, hey man, hey friends, how do we feel about this? Are we going to stick around? Like, you know, and people are, these are red-blooded Americans. They're not going to just give up their property.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Yeah. Not because they're going to be horribly disfigured by ghosts.
Yeah.
Like that's what the man wants.
Yeah.
How many people are in the Bell family is my question.
Good question. So I know for sure there's John Bell.
Clearly.
He has a wife we'll talk about eventually. And there are these 2 kids. There may have been more kids. I think there were more kids.
Okay.
I think he had multiple sons, but I don't think they were. I don't know if that's true, but I got the sense there were more sons. But I think just one daughter, Betsy. So I'm going to say 4 confirmed, up to maybe 6.
Okay. Fair enough.
Does that change the story?
And are they all? Well, I mean, are they all experiencing this at the same time, or is it some sort of?
Well, glad you asked.
Okay.
Sit tight for a second.
Getting excited.
We're gonna get there. So classic haunting stuff, sounds right everywhere, which could be anything. Could be, you know.
I mean, the wind. It could be actual wild animals.
Could be actual rats gnawing on your bed. It's 1819 in Tennessee. There are probably rats in the house.
Of course.
Soon, John Bell, the patriarch, starts experiencing what he called paralysis in his mouth.
Okay.
Seems like that meant his tongue would kind of like freeze up a little bit. His jaw would lock and he couldn't really talk very well. And it would just be like for hours, sometimes for days on end, he couldn't really move his mouth. Okay. So that was weird. So again, like all these weird things happening, not necessarily like something causing them, could be whatever.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it could be some sort of like frontier illness, you know, could like a tetanus.
Sure.
Or
I don't know what that does.
Yeah. I mean, it's this with the jaw, I think. So, I mean,
okay.
Who knows? Yeah, but again, a lot of things all happening together.
So they're a little freaked out. Then things ratchet up a little bit. Once John starts experiencing the paralysis of the mouth, bigger things start happening. Sheets start getting pulled off of beds while you're sleeping. So yanking the sheets off, which is the worst way to wake up.
Oh, no,
I assume like, oh God.
Yeah.
How gross, you know, how annoying, how just like what an insult.
And to know that a ghost did it too.
Yeah.
You know, like if someone else does it, it's like, fuck you, Fred, you know, but like, what do I say to a ghost?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So
there's no remedy for there. Like you can punch Fred in the mouth, you know, not a ghost. So the ghost started pulling sheets off the beds. Like people would walk around the house and suddenly their hair would be pulled.
Oh goodness.
The children would start to get scratched and like apparently there were marks that would be left behind.
Ooh.
And Betsy, the daughter,
Mm-hmm.
She was particularly attacked.
Mm-hmm.
She was scratched,
Mm-hmm.
as they all were.
Mm-hmm.
She was slapped across the face.
Goodness.
Red welts left behind.
Mm-hmm.
She was pinched a lot. And she was like stabbed with pins.
Oh.
Okay. She got the brunt of it. And this would just like happen all the time.
Sure.
Just like, and this was an invisible ghost. And so you could never see it coming. It was just like you're walking, slap across the face and you're on the floor. So that's not great. This is what's happening. They're like, I just think we have a ghost. I really think this feels ghost-like. We should get a second opinion. John calls his friend. Would you like to guess his friend's name?
I'm sorry. He calls.
I'm sorry. No. He calls on his friend, maybe?
He takes a 2-day trip by horseback.
Yes, to get to the next
person.
property.
Yeah. And says, can you come back with me? I'd like you to see if I have a ghost. And this other person is stupid enough to say, yes, let's get on the horses and let's go back and see if this is really a ghost.
Do you know the story? Have you read this story before? That's exactly what happens. His friend. Do you want to guess his friend's first name?
It's William.
It's not William.
Oh. Is it also John?
It's close. It's James.
I'm gonna get William one of these times.
Yeah.
I mean, again, putting myself in that state of mind. 1817, rural Tennessee. Nothing to do. Your neighbor comes flying over the horizon, says, "Please come back and let me know if I have a ghost."
What are you gonna do? You're gonna go, like you've been bored for years.
I know. It's I mean, it's not the sort of thing where you can kind of like brush him off. Like, oh hey, no, actually, I'm on a different call. Right, I gotta let you go.
Get this email. I gotta get back to.
Yeah, it's like the two of you guys, and then like 100 miles of nothing every direction. Says, okay. Fine, John. We'll go back.
You rode for 3 days to get here.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
I will go back.
And I will go confirm that it's not a ghost at your fucking house and you're just drunk.
So he goes to his friend, James Johnston.
I'm sorry. Like it really seems like the names from back then were like just a hat with like 3 pieces of paper in it. And they're like, oh, you're John. Put the paper back in the hat though, because we got a lot of guys
it's
here,
his last name, so let's do it again. And you can tack on a stun at the end.
Sure.
So James Johnston. So James goes to the house and he's like, all right, I'm going to sleep in this house for one night. We'll see if anything happens.
They've been riding for like a whole day or whatever.
Absolutely.
So sure, yeah, I'd invite somebody in.
He probably said first he would sleep there for like a week, but after the first night, all this stuff starts happening to him. His sheets get pulled off of him. He gets slapped in the face. Like he's tormented by the ghost all night long. He is very convinced that, yes, John, you have a ghost. I'm so sorry you have a ghost. He called it a spirit like from the Bible, which I was thinking about a lot because I'm trying to think of a ghost in the Bible. I assume what he meant was like a demon who possesses people and places in the Bible.
I mean,
not like the Holy Spirit.
Yes. Like the Bible, like they don't really... I mean, there aren't a lot of just like spooky stories in the Bible. There's not.
No, not really.
Yeah, I mean, it's either like, oh, your firstborn child is dead.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna infect your brain until you jump off of a cliff and splatter on the rocks. Yeah. So there aren't a whole lot of like, ooh, and then a spooky sound came from the tomb. So yeah, but I guess in his mind, biblical would mean. The most extreme.
I would think so. Hauntings. So yeah, probably means like a pretty bad friend. You've got some Satan in your blood. So where are we here? Okay. James Johnson confirms it. Everyone starts talking about it. Everyone around the town decides, hey, John has a ghost. There's a ghost there. Word starts to spread, and then suddenly like people from all over the state hear about this ghost. Then it spreads like the region, like the southeastern United States. They all hear the story about a ghost in the Bell House. And so, again, it's the early 1800s, 1819. There's no TV yet. There's no Netflix. And so people are like, oh, that sounds interesting.
So ghost tourism, basically.
Ghost tourism is born.
Okay. All right. Well, see, now I'm starting to see John Bell's maybe ulterior motive here.
Well,
like my soybeans, I can't grow them for shit.
Sure.
I don't really know what I'm doing out here. My kids all hate me. Let's try and drum up some cash.
Yeah.
By charging 5 cents a head to come in and get slapped in the dark by this ghost that I found.
That is my hand is sore though. All of a sudden, it's weird. So people start coming to the house to kind of check it out. This starts happening, and here's where my love for this ghost really, really starts to skyrocket, people start coming to the house to check out this ghost, and the ghost thought, oh my God, I am a star. The ghost starts putting on shows of a sort. People will come to the house and they'll do like, I guess like a seance would kind of be the closest thing, but they'll just stand there and they'll talk to the ghost. They'll ask questions because so far no one has seen anything other than the animals, right? So it's a disembodied voice, but that apparently has physical capabilities, right? It can pull sheets off people and stab them with pins and things, slap them in the face. So people go to the house and they'll ask the questions like, who are you? Where are you from? And the ghost, according to historical record, really just fucked with them a lot and would say things like, I'm here because someone disturbed a Native American burial ground on the property of John Bell. And if you want me to leave, you have to go and dig up this treasure that's in this location at this burial ground, and then I will be satisfied and I'll leave. And so a couple people went out and they followed the ghost's instructions and they were digging for treasure and they actually dug up more bones. And the ghost was like, you dug up Native American bones, you're cursed. Which again is exactly the kind of thing I think I would do.
Yeah. If I had a couple millennia to kill, this is definitely what I would be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like until Netflix comes around, this is what I'd be spending all of my time doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this sort of thing went on. So they would always be like, where are you from? And the ghost would always give them like these just wild things. Sometimes they were,
have you guys ever heard of Poughkeepsie? No, I haven't. That's where I'm from.
Go. At one point, the ghost claimed to be the witch of Old Kate Batts.
Old Kate Batts.
So what I have pieced together through multiple sources, I think, my understanding is Kate Batts was the neighbor to John Bell at one point. She died. And when she said she was Kate's witch, I think that it's like a stand-in for the ghost of.
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was she claimed to be the witch of Kate Batts or the ghost of Kate Batts. So people started calling the ghost Kate.
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes more sense than just, ghost.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to have a name.
Yeah.
Especially if you have tourism, people are going to be talking to the ghost.
Yeah,
they want a name.
Yeah.
So the ghost name Kate, but it became more well-known, more popularly known, and is still known today as the Bell Witch.
The Bell Witch.
The Bell Witch.
Okay.
Or Kate.
Yeah.
If you're on a first name basis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to spend the time to go all the way down there and talk to her, I'm not going to
right.
keep calling by some formal name. So, okay.
Okay. Now, apparently Kate was really well-versed in the Bible. She loved scripture.
Okay.
She would quote it all the time. She seemed to enjoy having theological arguments with people.
This, I'm sorry.
Yes. You have questions?
Is this all going on at night?
Not always.
Okay.
So that is a good question, actually, and a very important question. No. Sometimes during the day, too.
It's the middle of the damn day. Now, do they have to go inside of this log cabin to talk to the witch?
That I don't know for sure. I would say yes.
Yeah, I mean, it would make more sense. Sure, but I mean, where else? Like, where would you sit? If these are like long theological arguments.
On the fence, there was a big bird there. I'm not sitting there.
Yeah. I'm not going to sit on the field with like the big boar or near the trees with a haunted ass kid. No. So they go in the house.
Yeah.
Now, what is John Bell doing this whole time? Is he just like sitting there, just like counting his money while this is all going on?
I don't know his whole deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. Man, I don't know. I was doing this research about 30 minutes ago, so I don't know. I mean, it's been a really busy week.
If I'm John Bell, I have just created the most like fantastic scam.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I have one of my kids sit on the other side of the log cabin wall with the fucking Bible and be like, oh, Luke 12:7. Of course, that's and then he walked. Whatever. Okay.
You're about to feel so stupid.
Can't
even tell you how stupid you're going to feel.
I've been here for like a half hour, so we're getting there.
Sometimes the voice would fall silent for a few moments, as if she had disappeared, gone somewhere else, and then she would, come back, quote unquote, come back. Her voice would, she would start talking again. And she would recite a nearby sermon that a local preacher was giving word for word. Now, supposedly, notes were compared, although, like, I don't, who knows? But supposedly people were like, hey, you were at this sermon this preacher was giving. Like, did they say this? And be like, oh my God, word for word.
I mean, I would argue nobody's really listening.
That's got to be true. And like, how many variations on this theme can there possibly be?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're going to hell. You don't do these things.
Yep.
You know? So that, you know, we'll take it for what it's worth.
That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
One time, Kate did this with 2 sermons being given in 2 places simultaneously.
Interesting.
So she disappeared, came back and said, over in this town, this preacher is saying this. Over in this other town far away, this preacher is saying this.
Okay.
Supposedly independently corroborated. And this is when the Bells realized they had a ghost who could travel not only through space, but also through time.
Interesting.
She could be in 2 places at once. Quantum ghost is what I like to think of it.
Yeah. It's got a better ring than Bell Witch.
Yeah.
I mean, she probably didn't get to pick that name.
Yeah. And so advanced, right? Like quantum physics, boy.
And they had no idea.
We're still like 200 years away from that at this point. Like, amazing. So this is all going on. People are coming to the house. They're checking out the ghosts. Everyone is just amazed by this time traveling spatial, uncertain ghost.
Sure.
Spatially uncertain. Some people are like, we should test this because it seems like it might not be a ghost. I feel like this is like what you would do.
Oh, I would. Yeah, I'd be out there with all the equipment of the day.
Yeah.
Sticks, paper, you know, all the stuff they had back then.
So, okay. Remember James Johnston, the neighbor?
Yes.
Who verified everything? He had a son. You want to guess the son's name?
I'm going to guess James.
Very close. Want to try again?
Was it John?
Yep.
Okay. No, that's fair.
So our second John of this story, James Johnston's son, John.
I'm sorry.
John Johnston?
John
yes,
Johnston?
That's his name.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. There wasn't a whole lot of time to name people back then, so you had to kind of get it done quick.
Well, I mean, really, at this point in time, the odds that your children were not going to live past, you know, the age of 6 months is pretty high.
Yeah. So do you just like name all
So just
John?
like you name all John, so you hope you have one John.
Yeah.
You know?
I love you, little surviving John.
Yeah. Yeah. So James Johnston's son, John Johnston, he was like, look, everybody, we have to like do an actual scientific test to see whether or not this ghost can really travel, which I love because it's not like, let's test, see if it's a ghost.
Right.
He's like, okay, we know it's a ghost. Let's see if they really can travel. So this is a slight content warning only because we have talked about this particular subject so many times. And that is, I guess, the problem with talking about 1800s ghosts. John Johnston asked the Bell Witch if she could tell the whole assemblage gathered there, what does my grandmother say to her slaves when she thinks they do something wrong? I told you it's not comfortable.
I mean, it's not great.
No, but this is supposedly what happened. Now his grandmother lived in North Carolina, so not even in the same state, right? Pretty far away.
Like currently, they're saying like currently, what is she saying to?
You asked me if she's currently living in North Carolina?
No,
because she's dead.
Yeah, at the time of the story, is she?
Well, apparently there's a thing that his grandmother would say every time her slaves, if she thought her slaves had done something wrong, there was like a phrase she would use.
Okay, like something she would like cross stitch, like her like motto.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. The witch replied, "Hut tut, what has happened now?" Which is exactly what John's grandmother would say.
And so it's like John like pulls out the cross stitch, like
He's like,
holy
"Hut tut."
shit, you know.
The hut tut was there. I didn't think she'd get the hut tut. The ghost also said it in a Dutch accent, which John had not told her. His grandmother was a Dutch immigrant.
Interesting.
Okay. So he's convinced the ghost is traveling. And personally, I'm convinced ghost is traveling.
Sure.
How are you feeling at this point?
I mean, it's still sounding a little bit like a cash grab from the neighbor.
Okay.
But you know, that's
okay.
I can't put myself in their shoes necessarily, but
Your feet are probably a lot bigger than theirs. They were small.
yeah, I mean, back then everyone's feet were very, very tiny.
Very
like
small.
hooves, really.
Yeah. More people wanted to test whether or not this ghost was real and could actually, well, again, less so that the ghost was real, but more that the ghost could,
Testing limitations of the ghost.
Yes. Yeah. Although this particular gentleman I'm about to tell you about did seem skeptical about the idea of a ghost at all. Definitely, though, was skeptical that it could travel. It's about to get weird.
It's about to get weird. Okay.
A gentleman arrives at the farm. He's English.
Oh,
from England.
Immediately, like the trustworthy character in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, oh
yeah,
shit,
100%.
he's got an accent.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
he's the real deal.
Real. Yeah.
He's a skeptic. He's heard all the stories. He's like, I'm going to see for myself.
Right.
All right. He offers to investigate. And the Bell family says, man, knock yourself out. There's a ghost here. You know, you don't have to investigate, but come on in, bud. So he's in the house and he's talking to the ghost. And he's not sure if it's a ghost still. It's a voice that is responding to him, but he's like, he's not sure. But he made the mistake of mentioning his family back in England, calls his parents by their names, says where they live, gives like a short bio.
Really? Like,
yeah.
What a dummy. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
well, the ghost is like, where are you from? Who's your family? Where you know?
Yeah.
And,
Just,
and he answers it.
Just chatting him up.
Yeah. So this is someone who seems really smart, but would definitely get fished instantly.
The last 4 digits of my social.
So at this point, the Bell Witch starts mimicking his parents, which I find hilarious. Again, like I love this ghost so much. Apparently, the witch started sounding very much like both of his parents, but not as if she were like channeling them, but if she was just like doing really good impressions of them. Yeah. Of the mom and the dad, but saying things that they would say. So he's kind of like freaked out about this because he wasn't expecting that. But he's, you know, still on the fence. He sleeps there that night. They end their conversation with the ghost. He goes to bed.
Is the ghost, I'm sorry, not to interrupt. Is the ghost still scratching people?
I believe that continues.
Okay, so I mean, this is kind of an odd relationship at this point. Like you can imagine if there's a person that lived in your home that you were fascinated with, you were testing and whatnot, and then every night when you went to bed, they slapped you in the face and scratched you, along with your children.
Yeah,
like
this ghost is all over the place.
Yeah, like you're still living in the house at this point. At some point, you're like, I'm just gonna sleep in the yard because I'm tired of this.
There are more examples of this ghost being like, pick a lane, you know, ghost, because sometimes like entertaining people, like making jokes with people,
right? Yeah.
Sometimes maiming people,
right? Yeah.
You know,
yeah. It'd be like if the movie Poltergeist had like a musical sequence in the middle, and you're like, "What the fuck is this?"
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so this is all. So this English gentleman is like, this has been really interesting. I've got a lot to think about. No, he's probably got a Michael Caine accent, really.
Yeah,
I've got a lot to think about.
Yeah. I'll tell Master Bruce about this.
So he sleeps in the guest room. He goes to bed. And he sleeps pretty well.
The guest bedroom?
How big is this? As I said, I'm like, wait, it's probably not a guest bedroom. He sleeps on the floor.
Yeah, let me turn on the guest pile of dirt for you. Yeah.
So he goes to sleep. He sleeps okay through the night. The witch does not slap him in the face. Treats him very respectfully. But she does wake him up very early in the morning.
Oh, I hate that.
With the mimic voices of his parents telling him, admonishing him and telling him to get up, get out of bed, and begging him to come back home. And so the witch is giving him the voice of his parents, again, impersonations of his parents that apparently are pretty good, but like with terror. Please come home. We need you. Things you are like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Come home now.
Sure.
It's not an easy trip.
Yeah.
It's not an easy trip now.
Yeah. Like the dog is sick. God, you need to come home.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's freaked out. He's like, he leaves right away. He's like, this is probably nothing, but
sure,
I got to go home. So he gets on a train to a steamship, I guess. So 9 years later, he gets back to England. When he gets back, he immediately sends a letter to the Bell family, which gets there again, I assume 7 years later.
Yeah.
Telling them the witch had visited his parents that night when he was in their house. They reported a voice that had just started talking to them in their house, asking them questions about their son with details about where he was in this Tennessee area, in his house in Red River, wherever it was. He apologizes for being skeptical, says it's absolutely real. It's very dangerous. This ghost is legit. Please be careful. Please be safe.
Yeah.
So all these people keep coming to the farm and they're all, you know, a lot of skeptics and every single one of them leaves completely convinced, right? It's a real ghost. No doubt about it. And the Bell Witch just keeps doing her own thing. She really liked to follow Betsy around. Again, the punching and the slapping and stuff.
Sure.
But here's another good example of kind of the spectrum of behaviors of this Bell Witch. She liked to follow Betsy around just to kind of torment her. But one day, Betsy and some friends were playing in a cave on the Bell property.
As you do.
There's a cave.
As a child, I played in many a cave.
Did you?
I did, actually.
I bet you, it's actually Missouri has a lot of caves.
We found a very terrifying cave. And as a 12-year-old boy, it was just fascinating.
How many witches were in that cave?
0, but there were a lot of bats and a lot of...
That's a real cave.
Like it was a proper cave. And it was mostly just like water and dankness and bats.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Pretty exciting. But no ghosts or witches or anything supernatural.
Well,
that I recall.
Okay. Probably because you're not open to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Got to open yourself if you want to see them.
Clearly that was the issue.
We'll go back someday.
Sure. We totally should.
That'll be our 1,000th episode, 1,000th episode.
Our million
feels like a lot.
Our 1,000th episode when we've both been dead for a millennia.
Yeah. That's the one. Anyway, so there's a cave on the property here in Tennessee, and the kids Betsy and her friends go into it. One of the boys falls into a hole in the cave.
That is a cave. It's a hole.
That's like, yeah. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. Yes. Good point. There's a hole in the ground. Within that hole are other holes. The boy falls into one, like little sinkholes. This was actually, I wasn't going to mention this, but now that you say that, I feel like I should. This was a specific type of cave. Mm-hmm. It's called a karst cave.
Karst.
Karst, which is a word I have never even seen before.
That sounds actually kind of familiar.
It's a topography formed from the dissolution of soluble rocks. Mm-hmm. So there, water goes through these rocks and wears them away. So apparently like these holes are kind of common in this sort of cave because you'll get like pools of water that'll just like eventually over time dissolve through. So that's what happened in this cave. And so a little boy, I don't know how little, they're probably teenagers.
Yeah.
A boy fell into a hole and was stuck there. It was like small hole and his arms were like pinned back. Mm. And can you fucking imagine falling headfirst down a hole in a cave and not being able to move with your arms pinned behind your back? Mm-hmm. I have a hard time imagining a worse thing in life than that.
Like maybe if the witch started talking to you at that point and you're like, oh, fuck.
Oh, okay. Well,
now what?
Okay. So spoiler, but so he's stuck there. Everyone's freaking out. Mm-hmm. The witch, who is following Betsy, as she is wont to do, says, "I'll get him out." And that's a quote. Right? And so the boy feels invisible fingers grabbing his ankles and is lifted backwards out of the hole. Everyone sees this happen. Mm-hmm. Everyone is just losing their minds, except Betsy, who's like, "That's a witch."
Yeah.
So the witch says, "I'll get him out." She pulls him out of the hole, and then she gives them all a really stern talking to about the dangers of being in a cave alone.
So she's fucking Mary Poppins at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Which again, if I were a ghost, this is exactly the sort of thing. Like, what are you doing here? Yeah. What did you think was going to happen when you came in this cave, Betsy? And Betsy's like, "I don't know, man. You stab me with pins all the time. What?
You're not my mom, you fucking witch."
So this witch is just all over the map. Like she wants to cause trouble. She wants to have fun. Mm-hmm. She wants to protect the children that she smacks around a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
It's,
I mean, it's the 1800s. I mean, who didn't?
And this is a person. Mm-hmm. This is how people are. Mm-hmm. People are complex. Mm-hmm.
And they ever say how the neighbor died? It sounds like she maybe died in some sort of like.
There are some theories out there. I don't think it's recorded because this person was like a no one person. Died in like 1814 or whatever.
Sure.
Like, yeah. I don't know if there's really a record, but there's some theories. We'll get into those.
Okay.
Okay. So this is just like a series of anecdotes about this ghost. just so good. Just tells him to stop making so much trouble. The ghost now, the Bell Witch, she actually seemed to like John's wife, Lucy, quite a lot. Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, yeah. Wait, okay. So Lucy. So John, Lucy. Lucy's. Okay, yeah.
Lucy's
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it fits.
Yeah.
The witch was heard to call Lucy, quote, "the most perfect woman to walk the earth."
Ooh. This is sounding like.
So to me, to me, I did not read this anywhere. No one else has said this, but to me it's like there's a very strong possibility that this was like a lover's spat of sorts, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, a bit of a love triangle, like that, like
jealous of John,
like that astronaut that like wore the diaper to Texas, and you're okay. You don't look super familiar with this, but you do a little research.
Elaborate a little bit.
So there's a love triangle in the among astronauts, I believe, or among people in within the space program.
In the space station or
not in the
on
space
the ground?
station.
I could see that. Like that's the thing. Like
like
3 of us here together. Hey man.
Yeah. Like that'd be pretty thrilling movie plot. Anyway,
should we write a spec script? All right. You're not going home tonight. We're doing
but no. So anyway, look it up. Love triangle, diaper. You'll get there. So
I feel derailed right now in a way that I don't know if I can recover from.
There aren't a whole lot of Google searches that you can add the word diaper to that will immediately narrow it down to one result. This is one of them.
Okay. All right. Anyway, try to focus again. God, the mind just reels, doesn't it?
I know it's
Okay. Anyway, my mind goes to a beyond the grave
love triangle. Yeah, makes sense.
Which makes sense.
Sure.
But again, no one else has said this, but
Now it does honestly make me think that maybe John Bell is like not involved in this at all. Because if I had a love triangle with a neighbor and the neighbor died, I'd be like,
oh, thank God.
Don't got to worry about that anymore.
Ooh.
So I think John Bell may not like have anything.
And perhaps that John Bell had murdered that person.
Oh,
again, that's just.
I mean, it's all
no one has said that.
Yeah. The John Bell estate does not.
They do not endorse this.
Yeah.
So, but apparently the ghost would. She, like I said, pretty over the moon for Lucy. Would leave her gifts of fresh fruit. Which I think is probably like a really nice gesture in 1819.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I imagine fresh fruit's probably like every farm probably has like apples.
Like I have the one thing I grow.
Yeah.
I mean, like we're in Tennessee, maybe there's oranges. It's close to Georgia.
I guess
peaches, maybe.
Yeah. And they're like, here's a fig. And like, what the fuck is a fig?
Oh my God, you must love me.
Yeah.
The ghost would sing hymns to her.
That's less good than the fruit.
Well, your love language is different than Lucy Bell's, I think.
Clearly, yes, that's a given.
But for Lucy, this was, wonderful. Huh. So the ghost, the witch really seemed to have a lot of compassion, let's say, for Lucy, but she fucking hated John.
Okay, now
and I want to say, hated. Okay, all right. She called him Old Jack.
Old Jack.
Okay. Old Jack. And he's probably not old. He's probably like, this is 18, he's got a couple kids. He's probably like 21.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
He probably looks 16.
Like, he probably looks like he's about 75 years old. But
so Old Jack is probably a derogatory term. And she would regularly vow in public, like anytime people came over and they were like, what are you doing here? One of the things she would very often do was that she would vow to murder John. I'm going to murder him.
That's tough to live with.
Yeah. I mean, she's right there.
Yeah.
And you're right there.
Yeah. Like she can clearly like physically access you,
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm going to murder John someday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you imagine anything more terrifying than this ghost? You cannot see the invisible ghost.
Yeah.
It does not appear except for as giant dogs and birds.
Yeah.
Is like, I'm going to murder you. You're not going to fucking see it coming.
I'm going to have to kind of fall back a little bit on like the actions they're choosing for themselves. Cause at no point do they move. I mean, I know
you're going to victim shame.
What
you decided to do. Okay, go ahead.
At this point,
speak on that.
So at this point, you can always move somewhere else where the ghosts aren't murdering you or threatening to murder you. Because at no point have they been like, you know what? Let's just move to Chattanooga. We'll just like figure shit out there. And if the ghost follows, okay, then it's a different kind of situation. But at this point, they're like, well, the ghost is threatening to murder me, but I don't want to.
You're advocating for agency on behalf of the Bell family.
Yes, I'm saying the fact that they are sticking around while a ghost is threatening to murder them makes me think it's either like a little cash grabby,
okay,
or maybe just not a real thing, you know?
Okay.
So I don't know.
Okay. People are coming from all over the literal world to see this ghost, and they're convinced.
Right. So I'm gonna lean on cash grabby.
Okay.
At that point. Then.
Okay.
Because again, like the whole country, wide open. You know, Lewis and Clark, they showed everybody the way to the. I'm overstretching a little bit. I don't really know, but I'm sure there's somewhere else you can fucking build a log cabin. Right? Yeah, there's lots of land, lots of options there.
But I also have to. I would only push back in the sense that, like, if it were me, 100% I'm out.
Yeah, clearly,
fuck this place. However, at this point in time, it probably was a lot of work to move. You had to go like fight indigenous people for land, and then build a house with your own bare hands.
Right.
Like that feels like a lot of work, especially when you have a family.
Yeah.
Like, where do your kids hang out while you're chopping down trees, or even while you're shooting guns at the people who have lived there forever and don't know why you're here giving them yellow fever?
I'm thinking like the last time I bought a house, I think
was it also a trial?
The last time I bought a house, I think I did 100% of it on my phone, which is just like, it seems weird, right? So,
right.
If it's, that obviously is maybe one extreme of it. And the other extreme is clearly like, I need to go kill some people, steal their land, chop down trees, build a house. I have until sundown because I don't know if the ghost is going to follow me to this or not,
So
little stressful.
So I would get why they might choose to stay.
Fair enough.
Also, I want to stress, like, this is America. Stand your ground
against a ghost. I don't think that, like, I mean, that's fine. Yeah, I would be really interested in the person who's like, you know what, I'm not leaving this fucking house. I know this ghost is going to kill me, but I have a whole bunch of guns.
I guarantee you that there currently are and have always been. I would say dozens of people every single year in this country who like think they might be haunted and who think, fuck that ghost. This is my territory. I'm armed. I'm not leaving. I guarantee it.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, I took out a loan on this place.
Yeah.
The bank is not going to believe this.
Yeah.
At all. So
ghost can't have it.
No one can.
And Joe Biden can't have it. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of.
Anyway. This is a ghost podcast.
Right.
And what we're talking about.
It's a ghost podcast?
We talked about the sinkhole. We talked about, the love affair with Lucy. Okay. Ghost hated John.
Right. Yes.
Hated him.
Yeah, we were there about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And we're back again.
The Bell Witch would regularly vow to murder him, as I mentioned. And during the whole time, so this haunting lasted for 4 years, during which time John got sick a lot. And I assume that people got sick a lot
again,
constantly.
Yeah. Like they didn't invent anything in 1817.
Right.
It was literally like, go chew on that plant. Oh, you felt worse? Oh, then don't chew on that one again. Chew on this.
It was basically witchcraft still. Like, I don't know. Let's put leeches on you and see what happens.
Now, okay, so John felt sick. At any point did John figure, maybe I'll just ask the witch what would make me feel better? I mean, she does appear to be able to.
No, I don't think so. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is the assumption just like the witch is making me sick?
The assumption certainly is absolutely,
which,
I'm not going to ask her because she's going to tell me something's going to be worse.
Yeah.
There are like contemporary reports. So a lot of this the research here comes from a book that was written by one of John's children. So it's contemporary-ish. So I have to think that if a contemporary to the time piece is saying he got sick often, that must mean he was like wrecked constantly, because again, if someone back then thought, boy, Dad's real sick a lot of the time while you are, throwing up your guts 3 times a week, it must be really bad. So it's some pretty serious stuff. And everyone obviously knows it's the witch who's doing this to him. She's keeps threatening his life. She's taking credit for all these things.
Right. She put like strychnine in the oatmeal or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But like, what do you do?
Yeah.
This witch is making you sick, but like, you can't do anything about it. So time passes. All these shenanigans go on. Like, this is, the witch does her thing. 1821 comes around.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Presidential term.
It's been a whole presidential term. Absolutely. The Bell Witch has finally had enough.
The Bell Witch has had enough. She's having a good time this whole time.
Yeah, but she's like, you know what? I hate John so much, and or love Lucy so much. Again, that's my thing.
Yeah, I mean,
it feels real.
Kind of connecting all the dots.
Yeah, she's had so much that she had enough. One day, the family wakes up. They find John dead.
I mean, it happens. Sure. I mean, he'd been sick this whole time. Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, eventually it took him.
They find him with a vial of a dark colored liquid next to him. Someone has poisoned John.
A vial. How is John affording a vial? Like, okay. So, like,
I mean, the tourism trade is booming.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm thinking John. Yeah. So John maybe took some of the wrong medicine or.
Well, I can tell you that's not true because the witch took credit.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So the witch tells everyone she has poisoned John Bell the night before and he's dead. The family is like, what the fuck? We thought you would not do this because you've been claiming you would for 4 years, but like that was like our fun banter.
Yeah.
And now you've done it. Like, are you serious? So they find this vial. No one seems to know what the vial is, where it comes from, what's inside of it. They don't have like good labs at this point.
Right. Yeah.
So this is so terrible. This is.
Do they feed it to the dog?
Boy, so close. You're right there.
I'm putting myself in like 1821 mind frame of like, I had this dark liquid, a dead guy. What would Sherlock Holmes do here? Feed it to the fucking dog.
You can't imagine how close you are because they want to know if it's poison. And so they feed it to the family cat.
Oh, I mean, that's like the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
The family cat. Okay.
The cat did die.
Well,
okay. And then
cat's very small though. And honestly, like cats, if you look
I
up like
know how much they gave the cat.
Yeah, because like give like one little dropper or whatever. Like cats can't eat anything. I really don't even know what cats eat. Like
my cats throw up everything that they try to eat.
Like they eat food,
but they seem fine.
They eat treats, they throw it up. They drink too much water. Throw it up.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. They go outside, they eat like one blade of grass, throw up for a month.
So far my cats have not died. Right. This cat did die.
Well, that's pretty extreme.
And then a doctor comes over to check to the body, like for the human.
Oh yeah, like
not for the cat.
Yeah, gentlemen, this cat is dead. Yeah, we're talking about John though.
Yeah, doctor comes over to find John, and the family is like, "We found this vial. We didn't know what it was. We fed it to the cat. This cat also has died."
Right.
And so the doctor, following the scientific method, smells the cat's mouth. Okay, confirms the cat's mouth smells the same as John's mouth does.
John's mouth smells like cat food. I mean, I've not attended medical school, clearly, right? But I'm really curious if this is like one of the gen ed classes at the beginning. Like
I have to assume that medical science has advanced quite a bit since the early 19th century.
You know what? But you know how these things work. Like there's always like some little thread that still exists. You know, where they're like, we're going to get to surgery, but first we're going to do like a quick little half session on mouth smelling.
We're going to smell your mouth real quick. Yeah. The mental image of an actual doctor.
Yeah.
Bending down over a cat,
like squeezing its belly a little bit and being like, kind of smells like cat food.
So good.
Yeah. And then he like bends over John and like mushes on his belly a little bit, like that's same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Molasses. That's what it smells like to me. Yeah.
So this is how they determined that John did ingest the same thing that seemed to kill the family cat. Which I don't think detracts from the reality of the ghost. It just is an amazing.
I'm really suspicious.
Amazing.
It's like this doctor.
Detail.
He's like show up and he's like, I'm a doctor, and they're like, oh sure, and he's like, anyway,
gotta smell this cat's mouth.
Before I figure anything out, I need to start smelling everyone's mouths right now.
You breathe my mouth. Doesn't smell like cat. You breathe my mouth. Nope, doesn't smell like cat. You guys weren't poisoned.
Yep,
no problem.
Not. Anyway, I'm gonna go home. I had a great time, guys.
Yeah. This has been good. You know what? I'll pay you because this has been so much fun. Okay, so that happens. They establish that John was poisoned through that absolutely buck wild,
rigorous scientific evaluation.
I just can't imagine. But that happens. So everyone's like, who's poisoned, and the ghost has claimed credit. There's still like questions about
case closed.
Was it the ghost? So it's not like people were not like they were not aware. They were not ignorant of the fact that it might have been someone who poisoned John.
Sure, right.
But the ghost is like, it was me, bitch. And so they're like, okay, that makes sense. That checks out. You've been threatening to do that for a long time.
Yeah.
They have a funeral for John, of course, and there are just tons of mourners there, and everyone is very sad. They're crying and they're singing hymns, and they're lowering his casket, and they're and like everyone is just a wreck, and everyone is so sad. And in the midst of all that sadness, the Bell Witch shows up and breaks into song, and she starts singing drinking songs at the top of her lungs at this funeral, which is so hilarious. I mean, the idea of all these sad people who are just like bawling and
his kid,
his
wife,
family,
yeah,
all the other Johns and Williams and
John Johnston
and John Johnson, they're all there, and they're super like it's such a solemn thing.
And she shows up and is just like, roll out the barrel. We'll have and
she's having a great time, and you can't see her again; she's invisible, and so you just hear this voice singing these like really high spirited drinking songs. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Again, I relate to this ghost so well.
Yeah, I think the real victim here is the cat. Because like the cat was just, I mean, like seriously, like the cat is like, I've been doing everything you guys wanted me to do for years.
Yeah.
And then you feed me some like weird molasses stuff, which I gladly eat.
Sure.
And now I am also dead.
And now I'm dead.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not getting a funeral.
No one's singing me drinking songs.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Maybe he got buried with the cat. Anyway.
I'll research.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Next week, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
This all happens. And John is dead. The witch supposedly has killed John.
Mm-hmm.
She's fulfilled her promise. John is dead. Now, at the same time, like for the last couple of years, Betsy has been engaged to a gentleman named Joshua Gardner.
That's a very modern name. I think I actually work with someone named Joshua Gardner. That's weird. Okay.
Yeah. Could be the same person.
Yeah, it could be.
The Bell Witch told Betsy repeatedly, like, look, I know you're engaged to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad really wanted you to marry him. So I want you to break off the engagement.
Oh, what a bitch.
What a bitch.
I know, right?
She just works for years. This invisible ghost.
Yeah.
Works for years for Betsy to break off the engagement.
Mm-hmm. And now is Betsy like lobbying on Joshua's behalf? Like, no, he's really nice.
Betsy loves Joshua.
Yeah. So she's trying to convince.
She's like, no. And that's why she doesn't do it. Like, right. The ghost tells you to do something. Like, you probably want to give it a shot just to make sure. But Betsy's like, no, I love, this is the person.
Yeah. He's like the only guy in this town,
who will come to my house even though it's haunted.
Yeah.
And court me.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't want to. So she refuses, but like her dad dies and she's kind of at a breaking point and this ghost is still here and the ghost is responsible for the dad's death and all this happening. She's finally like, okay, fine. Like, stop pulling my hair and shit. Stop killing my family. I won't marry Joshua. She breaks up the engagement.
Man.
As soon as she does, the witch says, all right, my work here is done. I killed your father. But over his last wish that you would marry Joshua. I'm done. I'm out. I'm going to go away.
Poof.
For 7 years, but I will return in 7 years just to like see how things are going.
Okay. Yeah. Like at the end of the movie. Like,
yeah, exactly.
7 years later. And then the witch is like, oh, what the fuck you guys doing?
Yeah. That's what happened. The witch disappeared.
Really?
1828.
Interesting.
Though the witch comes back. At this point, Betsy, the daughter, she's now married again. She has 2 sons, Richard and Joel.
Joel?
That's what the record says. Again,
I guess that name had to come from somewhere, but that seems pretty far back.
I don't know. But so they kind of have the house now. I couldn't tell if the mom also had passed in this time or not. Maybe she's just kind of old and whatever. Yeah. So like Betsy and her
early
family.
19th century, like most folks are dead by 30.
Yeah.
It's.
So Betsy and her family kind of run the house now. The witch comes back and she starts doing her thing again.
Really?
She announces her return. She's pulling hair. She's doing sheets. She's doing all this stuff. But this time, Betsy is like, you know what? Fuck this bitch. And she says, maybe we should just ignore her. So they do.
Yeah.
And the witch apparently continues on for like a few weeks. And they don't talk to her. They don't bring people to the house. They don't give her any sort of spotlight or platform. And the Bell Witch seems to have gotten bored and she went away.
Interesting. Deplatforming works. I mean,
absolutely.
Like that's the clearest example I can think of. Deplatforming works. Yeah.
And that's the story of the Bell Witch.
That's the end of the Bell Witch. They just had to like ignore her for a couple weeks.
After she killed John.
Well, I mean, yeah. So yes, she had like goals, after she like finished those goals.
But I still think like, so my theory still kind of holds because again, I don't know that Lucy had died by this point where she came back, but if she had, the ghost comes back, Lucy's gone.
Yeah, like there's some kids in the house. I guess I'll pull their hair a little bit. Like,
but like the reason is Lucy, right? If she's like in love with Lucy, and she's gone. So I love this story because the way the ghost acts is it's just perfect.
Like the whole digging up the bones. Like, I'm sorry.
You're cursed.
You're cursed now.
I'm so sorry. You did that.
Yeah. Big fan.
But there are still people who, at the time, of course, said, "No, I'm totally convinced." They, she went to England and visited my parents, and they are rational people, and they said they heard the voice, and things like that popped up. So if you go to this area today, which is named Adams, Tennessee, if you go there now, you can still visit the Bell Witch Cave, which I think the only part of the story the cave really comes into play is where she pulled the boy out. But it's like the only thing that's left of the property. Yeah. You can go take tours. You can go check it out. Some people, of course, claim to hear things and see things, whatever. So people can't be trusted. But I think this ghost is the real deal. What do you think?
Not totally convinced.
Okay.
On this one. A little bit of, it pretty easily explained away a few events in there. But I think it's definitely very, very exciting. And again, at the very least, Betsy is a real star of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So, absolutely. Okay. Well, we'll try again next week, see what happens.
Okay. Sounds great.
Thank you so much for listening to Is This a Ghost? If you enjoy this show as much as Patrick does, please make sure that you rate and review. And also, more importantly, I think, tell your friends. If everyone who listens to this show told 2 people, we would get 4 new listeners, and that would be a real dream. So please tell everybody you know about this show so they can listen to it too and enjoy it as much as you and Patrick both do together.